Like many people, before watching Edward Zwick's The Last Samurai for the first time, I was expecting a fairly straightforward, if not cliché, Hollywood historical action film. Instead, I emerged from that first viewing profoundly changed, or at least feeling like I was. The Last Samurai has since been one of my favorite films, and when writing this video out, I had plans to talk about the underlying aspects of cultural identity throughout the film that are punctuated in the affirmation at the film's ending to not compromise those traditions and values in the wake of Japan's modernization.
We cannot forget who we are or where we come from.
However, in rewatching this film, I found myself drawn to deeper themes of man's necessity for meaning. Both of the central characters, Nathan and Katsumoto, find themselves in situations where the meaning in their lives is either compromised or absent. For Nathan, a war hero who we see begrudgingly take part in the genocide of the Native American people, we see him start the film as a drifter, a haggard drunk who, because of his disillusionment with his life as a soldier, has now sunken into cynicism and despondency. For Katsumoto, who leads the samurai rebellion, he fights believing that while he's opposing the emperor's men, his rebellion is in service of the emperor. As we mentioned before, Katsumoto is fighting for the remembrance of Japanese traditions and ideology, things far bigger than himself. But after speaking to the young emperor midway through the film and seeing just how apathetic he has become towards the values of the samurai, his struggle quickly becomes a personal one. The meaning in Katsumoto's life, the lives of his ancestors and what they stood for, is suddenly at the precipice of extinction.
The way of the samurai is not necessary anymore.
Necessary. What could be more necessary?
How these two men bond and guide each other towards finding meaning in their lives again is at the core of what makes this movie so special. For Nathan, this journey is much more in the foreground throughout the film as opposed to Katsumoto, because not only is he the true protagonist, but Nathan's motivations are almost explicitly personal. He's not a man searching for meaning, he's one suffering from its absence. Renowned Austrian neurologist Viktor Frankl, in his text Man's Search for Meaning, describes the belief that many illnesses or mental health issues are disguised existential angst, and that people truly struggle with a lack of meaning, which he referred to as the existential vacuum. Through this sort of logotherapeutic lens, we could suppose that Nathan's alcohol addiction, depressive demeanor, and unresolved trauma as all being symptomatic of the root problem, which is based in the vacancy of meaning in his life. Nathan does eventually find meaning in his chance encounter with the quiet mountain village that he's taken to. Nathan arrives here as a captive, but ironically it's here he'll be freed from his suffering. Frankl mentions in one of his key themes that a way to find meaning is in an encounter that challenges how you view reality. A quintessential part of Nathan's pain stems from his guilt and shame, feelings and memories of what he's seen and done on the battlefield that he's desperately tried to repress. But with no alcohol and nowhere physically left to run, he's forced to confront himself. Many Western philosophies paint ways to cultivate the mind and soul in an active fashion, but in Eastern philosophies and religion, it's a passive experience. Such as in Buddhism and Taoism, the quest for peace and enlightenment comes from a surrender, a death of the ego in hopes of discovering the subjective awakening, nirvana, satori, rebirth, etc. Nathan learns to let go of his guilt, and by accepting who he is and what he's done, is able to finally find peace in the quiet rural lifestyle he's grown attached to in the remote village. Katsumoto isn't devoid of purpose, but is a character who reaffirms the value of meaning in our lives. For a brief moment, as we mentioned earlier, Katsumoto despairs when he believes he's failed to uphold the traditions of the samurai and that they will now fade into obscurity. The power in his response is that we see that a man is willing to die for the sake of his values, something we honestly see all the time in film. But here, it's a beautiful reflection of the notion that our primary motivation as human beings is our will to meaning. That unlike the Freudian or Nietzsche-esque ideals where we're simply pleasure or power-seeking organisms, that in Katsumoto's choice to fight and die in this hopeless battle, that he not only succeeds in his goal of making the Emperor realize that traditions shouldn't be carelessly forgotten in this new age, but that beyond our baser instincts, we always have the final freedom to choose how we respond to any situation. Meaning in our lives takes many forms. For some, it's a battlefield. For others, a sanctuary. What The Last Samurai always reminds me of is that meaning comes to us in mysterious, unexpected ways, whether it be in prophetic dreams or by chance encounters, but that for those of us who feel lost and who are still searching, to look beyond any specific goal and to find life in every breath, to wait until that meaning is revealed to us. What is up, guys? Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. The Last Samurai is one of my favorite films of all time, one that is criminally underrated, so if you haven't seen it, you should definitely check it out. I believe as of this recording, it should still be free to watch on YouTube, so go give it a look. As always, if you have any thoughts on The Last Samurai or this video in particular, leave the comments down below. I would love to hear them. Leave a like or subscribe to support the channel. I would greatly appreciate it, but most importantly, have a good day, have a good life, and I will see you guys on the next one.